Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Chris Sands. Today, we are joined by Shannon Harris, known by a lot of people as the Brew Brother or Brother on Instagram. He is also an very accomplished home brewer, and I think it's 4 or 5 years you've been home brewing.
Oh yeah, about 5 years now.
And then also a traveling collaborative brewer that you've had the privilege or the chance to brew with actually huge breweries throughout the country.
Yeah, pretty stoked about that.
So thanks for joining me.
And thanks for the invite, man. I know we're long overdue. We tried to do this like about 2 years ago.
I think so. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was either last year or the year before. I don't know. Time is not something I have any concept of anymore. But it was when you were out here brewing with Guinness.
Oh shit, yeah, damn, that was a year ago. I was thinking Fresh Fest 1 and wow, yeah. So that was a
Maybe
year
I
ago.
did it. I mean, it is possible I talked to you then too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know schedules are very difficult to meet up
It is
sometimes. So
hard to
that
tell
is,
time right now these days.
I would say, the only beneficial thing that has come out of COVID for me is that I got set up to be able to do everything virtually. So it's opened up who I can have on at any time to a much wider degree. So it's
Oh, that's
great.
awesome. Dude, I'm loving this whole setup here. This is like pretty damn cool, man.
What's really cool is if you do it live, it actually on the right hand side you would see on the screen people making comments and asking
Oh,
questions.
shit.
But I found really quickly recording an interview live while people are talking, like asking questions, does not translate well to producing a podcast and just putting out audio.
All right, sounds good.
So yeah, it was actually as I was telling you beforehand, I was hoping that last week that I was going to be able to do this in person with you when I flew down to Austin for the Beer Now festival, but that got ruined.
Unfortunately, so man, I have some dope stuff lined up for beer now. Also with CBC too, man. It's very unfortunate that that got canceled too. So
I don't remember what were you presenting on for at Beer Now?
For beer now, I was going to do a diversity and inclusion in
Okay.
beer panel, and I had a pretty awesome group of people lined up that was going to join in on that panel. Marcus Baskerville with Weather Souls is actually supposed to be a part of that too.
He
So
was on last week,
I saw
and
that.
we actually you were brought up briefly because he brought up the answers Black is Beautiful collab.
Oh, he finally mentioned me in something. All right, I'm going to shoot him a text after this.
So that's what whenever you were like, "Hey, I'm free today," I was like, "Well, perfect, let's do it." So let's there's actually all kinds of things to talk to you about, but I think we should kick off right off the bat to talk about your Kickstarter for what will be the next big phase in, I guess, your craft beer journey.
Yeah, man, super excited. It's Urban Jungle Brewing. If anybody want to follow the Instagram account, it's Urban Jungle Brew, or you could follow us at Urban Jungle Brewing on Facebook. And yeah, super excited to finally get this launched off. Urban Jungle is something I created a few years ago after multiple name changes. I will say the Urban Jungle name came in just recently, maybe less than a year ago. But it's a project that I've been working on as far as trying to really kind of shift away from the Brew Brother persona and moniker and kind of get my brewing focused on as more as a brewer. So I was kind of leaning that way as being a gypsy brewer at the moment now. I kind of wanted to shift from getting the Brew Brother logo to the Urban Jungle logo on beers, so I can kind of fall in a group of other non-brick and mortar but popular gypsy brewers such as like Horace Agedale's and Three Chiefs get the Urban Jungle logo on beers. It was only until honestly recently, after a lot of thought, it took about majority of the year. I actually was planning to launch a Kickstarter for Urban Jungle Brewing back in January, But due to my procrastination, I kind of pushed that off until February. And then I was like, March is coming, and I'm like, I'm really got to get this out to the people and see if I can get some love back and a little bit of help towards getting this brewery started. And then COVID hit, and that kind of just screwed everything up for everyone all over the world. And with Urban Jungle and the Kickstarter, it's live right now. The link is in the bio. You can go on Kickstarter. They're featuring me on their homepage. You can find Urban Jungle just by searching on it on Kickstarter or clicking the link in the bio of the Urban Jungle Brew or the.
I'll add links in the description of the episode and to the Facebook post.
My man. Yeah, so basically we're Urban Jungle. We are looking to start this brewery, myself mostly, but I have my wife, Tiana, that's actually going to be joining in too. She or us, we're basically starting a Black-owned, farm-inspired brewery in Austin, Texas. Trying to be in line with Marcus Baskerville with Weather Souls. Unfortunately, and also maybe fortunately, he is the only Black head brewer owner in the state of Texas. So I'm looking to hopefully become the second at that and taking my talents, not to South Beach, but to Austin. As LeBron said, I just feel that it's very passionate, and being able to do those collaborations that I did with Guinness and Dancing Gnome and Jay Wakefield and even local breweries here in Austin, I think it's time for me to get my own platform and shine. And why not do that in Austin, Texas, which is quote unquote one of the weirdest cities in the country. So I'm really trying to, promote that diversity and inclusion into brewing beer and business ownership of a brewery here in Texas. I think that we're a little bit far behind with a lot of things. We got some barbaric laws. We got TABC on our heels, trying to make it very difficult for small businesses such as breweries to survive, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I'm just excited to really get this thing launched off the ground, and hopefully the Kickstarter goal can be met. I think there's about 3 weeks left in it. We're at about 23, 24% of the goal. What we're trying to raise here is about $60,000. And like I said before on some Instagram lives that I've done, I know people probably are out there like, man, this fool got to be crazy if he think he's going to open up a brewery with $60,000. Just to clarify that, I do not expect to open up a brewery with $60,000. The 60 grand that we are trying to raise with the Kickstarter is going to help with branding for the most part, of getting the merch created, which is t-shirts, hats, stickers, coasters, pins, all the cool merch that we're going to get out to the people. But the main goal of the 60,000 is just, we got hit with a lot of stuff to become a brewery in Texas, especially as a home brewer to a brewery in Texas with no really kind of proven track record. So we got legal fees, we got licensing, we got permitting, we got building construction costs that need to be paid up front before they even draft up a plan for what we expect to be a brewery. So that's what those fees are really going to help with. We have plans on how we're going to get the after the fact of the 60 grand of what it's going to take to really open a brewery in Texas. So right now the Kickstarter is taking off, man. We raised some good funds in the past few days. Just the first 24 hours, we were able to break 10K of that goal. So major shout out and love to everybody out there who's been very supportive, sharing kind words and pledging towards Urban Jungle becoming a real brewery here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're definitely pacing to easily meet that goal.
It seemed like it, dude. I was actually kind of a little nervous, but as I've been kind of watching, and my day job is commercial real estate, so I deal with numbers and money and stuff all day, and I'm kind of doing math, and it's if we kind of stay on track, I think we might be able to hit that goal by the time the deadline hits.
Kickstarter campaigns often seem to be like a reverse bell curve too. It'll start off hot, cool down a little bit, and then
in that last few days it just kicked off where we kind of try to hit it. So I kind of expect that little dead zone area in the mid range, but I think by the time the last couple of week or days that's left, man, I think we're going to really be able to push it. If we don't meet the goal, obviously it's a bummer, but we're still going to do whatever it is that we can to make sure that this brewery opens up. And the love that we received from publications to you know, featuring me on the podcast and other things like that, man. I'm just appreciative that the community is even supportive of a project like this, especially during these times.
Yeah. So does having like successfully raising money through Kickstarter, does that help with like securing bank financing and getting other investors? Do they look that as a positive that, like, you know, like individuals believe in you enough that they're willing to take a risk too?
Yeah, so that's awesome that you brought that up. You're the first one to do that. So before I jumped into the Kickstarter,
I watch a lot of Shark Tank.
well, Shark Tank was actually one that I was kind of considering, but I was like, yeah, I got to figure out how to really maneuver that to get on there. But that's funny that you brought that up, because before I reached out or even decided to open a Kickstarter, I was actually looking to get like financing and loans and investors and such. And it was coming down to it of like, what do you have to show? Like, with the brewing community, it's a high risk. Like, some breweries make it and some don't, but what makes you different and stand out? Obviously, this was pre COVID and also pre, you know, Black is Beautiful, where it's like, okay, now we're paying some attention to the Black community, especially in beer, that everyone was asking, like, you know, what can you prove to us? And I really just didn't have that. I was just, you know, saying, you know, I got these couple of collaborations. I'm a home.
I make really good beer. Just give me money.
Yeah, you know, I make beer, give me money. And they probably heard that I'm probably not the first person that comes to them with that. So it dawned on me, it's like, if I can do a Kickstarter and show them that, like, there is a bunch of people out there that's rooting for us and rooting for me and rooting for this brewery to be something real, and I can hit that goal, great. Like, here it is. That's showing you like $60,000 didn't just come from one person. Like, this is quite a few. I think it was like 140 people pledged so far, which has really took off to where Kickstarter even acknowledged as like, you're one of our favorite Kickstarters, where they like placed me on their homepage. Like, we are highly supportive of you and happy of what you're doing, and we're supportive of it too. So I think the Kickstarter is definitely going to help with investors, especially like banks and loans, be like, yeah, man, I think this guy got something really positive that's going on here that we will be happy to back. So I think even if we reach the goal, I think that's going to be like, great, hey, here's your loan, how much you want, we're signing it, here's the deal. But even if we can get half the way, or even just some, I think even where we are at today is enough to show them, like, damn, like, this shit has only been open for like 6 days and this guy's killing it right now.
Yeah. So the one thing I was surprised when talking to Marcus was how, like, behind, at least in San Antonio, craft beer is. I imagine though, like, Austin's probably got to be a little bit better than San Antonio is, though, right?
That is much so. San Antonio is up and coming, especially with the help of Marcus at Weather Souls and the homies over there at Isla Street and Black Lab Brewing. They're all really pumping up the scene out there. I think before them, it was like Freetail was kind of like one of the only breweries that's out there. But Austin just has more breweries per capita and a bigger range of diverse, or I'll say, or not diverse, but a different stance of like how different breweries can be in Austin. I think, if I remember correctly, I haven't checked the numbers recently, but I believe we definitely have more breweries in San Antonio, that's for sure. But we should have more breweries in Houston and Dallas as well, too, who are up and coming cities in Texas as well.
I mean, yeah, I would think so, because like Austin is often listed as one of those destinations that you go to for craft beer.
People gonna tell you they're gonna visit Austin for a vacation and party, then nobody say I'm going to San Antonio to party. No offense to anybody out there.
Well, that's what, when I was talking to him, when he said how, and I can't remember right now either how many breweries there were in San Antonio, but I believe it was fewer than what tiny little Frederick, Maryland has. Wow. So. And I can't remember how many millions of people he said are in San Antonio, and like Frederick has like tens of thousands in the city. So I was like, wow, San Antonio's got some real catching up to do. I thought Maryland was bad.
It's also because of Texas, man. I mean, just recently, September of last year, we were able to pass a law of beer to go sales, where a lot of breweries wasn't even allowed to let you leave their premises with the beer.
Yeah, see, and we're not that much further ahead. I think that only started. Well, you could get beer to go, but it was like a super low limit. So a lot of places just didn't even. And and then you couldn't, five or no, wait, like 6 years ago, I think you couldn't have a beer at a brewery.
Wow.
You couldn't buy a pint of beer in a tap room. So almost no one had tap rooms, or if they did, they were really tiny and they were just there if people showed up and wanted a tour, and then they could do a tasting. But it was the Maryland laws were really archaic not too long ago.
Wow, man. Then I guess y'all came a long way, just like we did. I remember the days when I first came to Texas, where like crowler machines and canning machines were illegal. Like TABC was
Jeez.
breaking in the breweries to snatch them away, and that's what kind of brought Oscar Blues here to be like, hey, man, like we kind of started this whole wave of crowlers. Like we're going to fight and advocate to make this shit legal. But yeah, man, it was tough. I remember even when before I even moved here, my very first time coming to Austin, yeah, it was like breweries wasn't allowed to sell you beer. So they sold you glasses and a beer tour, but it came with pours, but you were technically paying for the glass.
It was the same thing in Maryland. They tried to come up with all kinds of creative ways to sidestep whatever the law was, but it thankfully through a lot of lobbying and a lot of battles in our state house that it's been greatly improved.
Yeah, same here, man. Well, congrats to y'all. So high five.
So you had said that you would only be the second Black brewery owner in Texas.
Correct.
Do you happen to know what the ownership across the whole country is? I mean, it's still pretty low, right?
I could give a hard range because I'm sure things are happening.
Yeah, there's always
every single day. But last time I checked, man, I think there's about 8,000, 8,500 breweries in the country total, and about 60 of those are actually Black owned.
Yeah.
And so that's less than 1% of breweries across the country. And even to dive deeper in that, I think out of those 60s, at least half or even more don't even have a brick and mortar yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they're like doing a lot of like the same of what you're doing.
They're doing the same what I'm doing, raising funds, doing collaboration, trying to build their brand and raise more capital and funding to be able to open a brick and mortar. I think one of the newest brick and mortar breweries that are Black owned is called Hip and Hops in Georgia.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah, so they just opened up, got a dope brewery system. They're actually ISO in search of a head brewer for their brewery right now. But that's a new one. So man, it's a real struggle out here about minorities in general just being in the beer industry and owning breweries. I mean, there's not even that many women that own brewery or LGBTQ plus people that own breweries as well too. Yeah. It's just one of those industries that's just kind of been shifted into what it is. And I don't think it was intentional. I never want to come off and say like, it was intended to be a white male dominated industry. That's just how the cards played. And it all goes back to like how Black people and minorities can be funded by banks and stuff for loans. And we just didn't have those same opportunities. And the way that beer was kind of shifted to Black people over the years and shit a long time is that, we always had malt liquor. Everybody's looking for Coke 45 and St. Ives and shit like that. Like, so craft beer is something that's kind of fairly still new to us. Like there's breweries that's been around 20, 25, 30 years that's been making craft beer, like Sierra Nevada, for one, who's been around for God knows how long. And it's like, I recently got introduced to them in like 2013, 14. And yeah, so it's just that trying to get minorities, especially people of color, Black people, into the beer industry is something that has to happen both ways, not only on a brewery or brewing as a head brewer or assistant brewer or even an owner side. It got to start with the community on the consumer side too. Yeah. So it's up to breweries to try to figure out a way to make it a little bit more inviting for people of color to want to go to a brewery. Because I mean, I've been in the beer game for a while as a consumer, and even, before I even got into brewing, I could count on my hands and toes of how many breweries or beer festivals I've been to where literally I'm the sole Black person or just person of darker pigment at that particular facility or event that day.
Yeah, that was something like when I interviewed Mike Potter for before the first Fresh Fest, and he had said several things to me actually that I never had thought of, and one was what you alluded to, that like you're just not introduced to craft beer, because like if you go to a beer store in a predominantly black neighborhood, they're just pushing malt beverages or just the run of the mill macro beers. There's not a craft beer selection.
Yeah, no, it's just hard because it's like, man, it's not even until, like I said, man, I've been in beer for a little bit, not as adverse or a veteran as most, but as long as I've been in, like, I didn't even know craft breweries was a thing. Like when I first got into beer, I was all about my Coors Light, my Bud Light. MGD was my shit, bro. I used to drink MGD to the death of me, man. And then it wasn't until I actually had my first craft beer, which was a horrible experience, I must say.
What was your first craft beer?
My very first craft beer was actually, it was Guinness. Oh man, they gonna hate me, man. I did it for Guinness, man. But the first time I had that stout, this was coming from like those cheap ass rice loggers to a damn Guinness stout. Never even had a nitro brew in my damn
There's a
life.
lot of flavor difference.
Oh my God, man. It was a palate crusher. Like me and the guy who introduced me, who was actually a black man who was very well versed in beer, still good friends with him today. Like me and him almost got into a fight because I thought he was like playing a joke on me by drinking that beer. And
why are you giving me the spoiled stuff?
Yeah. And the second time I ever had a craft beer was a Stone IPA. And I've never had an IPA before, man. I mean, the bitterness on a hoppy IPA. Oh my God, man. It felt like I just drank like liquid coins.
Your friends were not being nice to you.
They were, man. And I hated beer. And then it all started when I went to like a Yelp event and I met a buddy of mine who actually lives in Texas now. This was back when I lived in California. We were in line at a Yelp event that was kind of had some kind of craft beer, and I remembered in my mind like, oh, I don't like Stone IPA. I hate IPAs, and that was something that they had. So I was like making a big deal about like, man, where's the Budweiser? Where's the Coors Light? Man, I can't drink this shit. And he kind of tapped me on the shoulders like, are you really crying about them not having that beer? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's the best beer in the world. And he lived across the street from the event. And I always tell people, like, man, he could have murdered me or something. And he was just basically like, come to my house, Jeffrey Dahmer shit. Like, come to my house, I'll get you fucked up. And he actually sat me down with like 20 beers from like a pale ale all the way up to like Tokyo Stout from Brewdog. And we got hammered that night. Ever since that night, I never drank like domestic beer really ever again, unless I'm at somebody's barbecue or something like that. And then like, a week later, he actually called me the Brew Brother. And then that's when I created that Instagram in like 2014.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it blew up from there. So here's the Brew Brother today.
Well, actually, we'll maybe that's what we should dive into next. But let's take a real quick sponsor break, and then we can talk about we know the origin now, but we can kind of talk about the evolution and the growing popularity of the Brew Brother.
All right, man.
If you haven't heard about our beer dinners, well, now you have. Typically, the last Tuesday of each month, we partner with a local brewery and craft an exclusive 5-course dinner. Each course is thoughtfully paired with some of the finest craft beer available. You'll meet the brewery, enjoy memorable pairings and service, and have a damn good time. Like us on Facebook to stay in the know when tickets become available, because they will sell out quick.
Idiom Brewing Company proudly offers delicious variety of beers to satisfy the most discerning taste. Best known for their wide array of IPAs, delicious fruited sours, and robust porters and stouts, Idiom Brewing Company offers a delicious variety. Idiom Brewing Company proudly offers a delicious variety of beers to satisfy the most discerning tastes. Best known for their wide array of IPAs, delicious fruited sours, and robust porters and stouts, Idiom prides themselves on continuing to innovate, utilizing new and experimental hops, local ingredients, and unique flavor profiles. Idiom has a simple goal in mind: to bring people from all walks of life together to enjoy themselves and each other. Idiom Brewing Company is located in downtown Frederick, just south of the intersection of East Street and East Patrick Street, with ample seating and directly on Carroll Creek.
Right, so somehow we made it 20 minutes into the conversation till we realized we were only talking about beer, and neither one of us was drinking one. So what did you decide to crack open?
I'm going to obviously, do a Black Beautiful stout. It's a coffee stout from Casa Agria, actually. And it looked like they use 2 different coffee roasters on this one. So
Oh, nice.
I have not had this particular one, but I love Casa Agria and all of the homies that's over there working at that brewery. So that'll be my old day to them.
So I'll give my buddies at Full Tilt Brewing a little love, because this came out. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, my face is in the way, so it's gonna. This came out yesterday.
Dude, is that you?
Oh yeah, that is me. Can you tell by the? Was it the skunk beard that gave it away?
I can recognize that pretty face from a mile away, man. That's awesome, bro.
So they have a series of fruited sours that they call Dan's Jams.
Nice.
So they did this one with me and named it Sans Jams.
Nice, dude.
It's a pineapple mango crisp sour.
Okay. Pineapple mango, I'm digging that.
It turned out phenomenal. It is so good, and thankfully so, because not only is my face on the packaging, but my name is too. So thank goodness I love it.
That's awesome. Now, it's always a good feeling. Is this your first time being featured on a can?
Funny enough, it's actually the 9th can that my face is on.
Oh, bro, you the real gypsy collaborator brewer, man. We should be interviewing you instead.
Yeah, it was funny. And it started last year, where I was just talking about doing a collaboration with this brewery, and we decided to name it Beach Drink. And he was like, "Oh, I can just see on the label you holding this drink. We'll make it look like it's a beach cocktail and stuff." And I was like, "That's awesome. I've never wanted to be on a can of beer, but now I do." And then like his artist said that she wasn't real good at doing like people. She mainly does like geometric figures and like non-people stuff. So he called me up. He's like, "Are you okay if we change?" I was like, "No, man. You promised me my face on a can of beer. I didn't want it before, but now that's the only thing in life I want." So thankfully, his artist's husband was good at doing caricatures, kind of, and nice. So that was the first one, and then it just became a thing. So now next month will be the 10th one that I'm on that comes out.
Man. All right, man. When you get in that Jay Wakefield collab, I got to see your face on one of these movie poster labels.
So actually, that's So you didn't drink craft beer. You avoided being murdered at some stranger's house to actually be shepherded into liking craft beer instead of your friends throwing the 2 extreme tastes at you after you were coming from light lagers.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody threw a barley wine my way as I was introduced to this shit.
That's probably the only thing that could have been worse.
Exactly.
Or maybe a lambic or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Gave you the persona that not persona, but the Instagram handle that you were going to create and then grow. So how'd you go from not drinking craft beer at all to having an extremely popular Instagram account about craft beer, and then becoming a gypsy brewer and a place that someone who gets invited to Guinness to brew a beer with them?
You know what, man? I think someone else asked me that before. I really don't know how I don't know how it happened, to be honest. But I do think I know a way that kind of paved the way. So once I moved from California, I was home brewing out there, but I mean, to people who will watch this and understand California, like you live in pretty crappy ass apartments for like gazillions of dollars, and there's no really space to brew. So I was just a stovetop, like 1 gallon kit brewer. And then I moved to Texas where I actually had like land and property to where I could really get into like all grain and full system setup brewing. And once I started doing that, I started sending my beers out to, to go back a little bit, I really got into it to homebrew more that way because no offense to Texas, I love Texas to the death of me today. But when I first moved here, you got to understand, I moved here from California, from like LA, and I was going up to the Bay, like San Francisco and everywhere in San Diego, you know, getting all of my beer and being able to trade around the country. And I moved to Texas where it was like the beer scene wasn't nowhere comparable to California. So I was in this mood of like, you know, I'm mad that I'm here. There's no good beer. And I created this Brew Brother account that was like going really crazy and that was going to die because there's not enough good beer to share on my Instagram in Texas. So I started to brew my own. I'm like, you know, those monkish IPAs, this is right when monkish started doing hazy IPAs. And I was like, you know, I want that monkish. I want that cellar maker. I want those guys that's like when Vista Brewing was still often popping down on the way to San Diego. Like I wanted to brew those beers. So I started to brew my own beer. And as I was doing it, I started sending it out to breweries. Like I'm sending it back to the homies in California and just randomly sending boxes. Man, now that I think about it, it's the dumbest damn idea. Man, these people could have thought those were bombs or some shit.
Yeah, seriously, like,
and I'm
actually
like I've never even talked to other half or Trillium ever a day in my life, but I'm sending them this fucking awkward ass box from this guy in Texas. Probably they thought it was a female, so maybe that probably helped because the name Shannon. They're probably like, "Oh, who is this sending me some beer?" So they started, and I mean, they were like in brown bottles, no label. I wasn't doing labels or none of that shit. It's just like, dude, this could be poison in a bottle. And then once I was sending those out, the brewers started reaching out like, "Hey, man, this is some good ass beer. Are you a brewery that's about to open?" I'm like, dude, I'm just a home brewer that's really taking this shit serious. And then it got to the point where they're like, well, would you like to collaborate? And by collaborate, like we follow you on Instagram. At this time, my Instagram was popping, not as popping as it is today, but it was good. And they're like, we'd love to, have you come out, check out our system, do a collaboration. Man, we even slap your name on it. So I started doing that. And then as it started to pick up, you started to realize of like in the brewing industry, who are friends. So then it was like, I started communicating with people here in Austin, Texas, where they were like, I know such and such, and they said that they tried your beer or we tried your beer and we love it. So we want to do a collab. And that's what kind of really started the way of building the home brew and building the brand of like the Brew Brother can also brew his own beer. And honestly, it just really started with the very first Fresh Fest, like when Mock Potter and Dave Bracey and everybody from Fresh Fest at that time reached out to me. It's like, man, we would love to feature you to brew some beer. And it was like, okay, cool. I would love to brew some beer with breweries that's outside of Texas. And then that's when I got to brew with Dancing Gnome in PA. And
isn't Andrew one of the greatest people ever?
Oh man, they're so awesome. Unfortunately, I haven't talked to him in a while. That's probably both our faults with all that's going on, but I need to check in with
you. You can blame him if you want.
No, man, but no, everybody's cool. Everybody's good. But Dancing Gnome is very welcoming, and we did that Die Hard is Not a Christmas Movie IPA. And I think the name of that beer alone is what kind of really sparked the shit, because it was like, it started a debate where, man, I was getting like hate messages in my DM.
That's hilarious.
Dude, Die Hard is Christmas movie. Yeah. It's just
people
like,
have strong feelings about the weirdest things.
Exactly. And you know what? I did that on purpose because I think I was like on a Reddit thread or something like that, and somebody was arguing about like that movie. And I personally was like, man, that shit is not a Christmas movie. So I talked to Dancing Gnome, like, we have to do this. And as soon as I told them the name, they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. Do you have a recipe you want to brew? And I was like, oh, y'all gonna let me like brew? Okay, well, yeah, I actually do have this hazy IPA that I really love. That's a good beer that I actually won some home brew competitions on nationally and locally. So we brewed it at that large span, and then it just kind of blew up from there. Next thing I know, somebody else introduced me to John at J. Wakefield, which he is like one of my homeboys, man. John is my dog. And he was like, man, we got to get you down to brew a beer with us. And I was like, well, let's brew a beer. And at that time, John was like, man, I'm so tired of brewing fucking IPAs and I'm just stouted out. This was like the end of the year, it's at Christmas time. And he's like, man, I just want to brew something a little different. Is there something you want? And I was like, man, honestly, I've been brewing a lot of hazy IPAs and stouts, but dude, I really can't stand barley wines. Like, I don't understand why people think that shit is life. And he's like, dude, we have to brew a barley wine now that you said that. And then that beer took off to be crazy.
So
and then,
you like?
And next thing I know, I got Guinness reaching out to me to do like some promo posts and things like that. And then they invited me out. I was like, man, we love what you're posting for us and doing the creative brand content for Guinness and sharing it on your page and the love that people showing. Like, we would love to invite you down to brew a beer. Now, mind you, Guinness ain't collaborated with nobody. So to say that I have that on my resume is like that kind of is like, man, that's the holy grail for me, dude. Like, they ain't brew with nobody. Then when I get there, all of a sudden, Dave Bracey with the partners, the Drinking Partners podcast is there. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, yeah, I've been talking to them because I wanted to get them to come in the Fresh Fest. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then I talked to Guinness. They're like, yeah, we want to brew beer with you to get featured in Fresh Fest. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so then that's how we got with that. And then now it's like me and Jay Wakefield, we did 2 more beers together, which releases next weekend, August 21st. So I'll be back in Miami for that. I was able to collab with breweries in Mexico. I did a collaboration with a brewery in Africa. Looking to do a collaboration on the Pacific Northwest with Fremont Brewing. That'll be coming up soon.
Where is Jay Wakefield? I actually have never heard of them before. Oh, Miami. Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, Jay Wakefield, Miami. Dude, you never heard of Jay Wakefield?
You know what? It's one of those things, like it sounded familiar, but I didn't know if it sounded familiar because it's like a familiar sounding name, or I've definitely never had any of their beer.
Oh, shit.
I know that.
I'm going to hook you up. I got you. No, man, they're killing it down in Miami.
The tap room looks amazing.
Collabs with a bunch of folks going forward now, so... and I think with starting this Kickstarter and becoming a new brewery in Austin, I'm really looking to chat and talk with a lot of the breweries here in Austin to work something out. So I'm in the talks with a few other groups. Nothing's officially official, but I have started conversations with a few local breweries to try to help spread the love and also get my brand out there via their network and such to the people of Austin, Texas. But there's some big
get a Jester King collab going.
Man, you know what? I've been talking to Jeff, and this is a funny thing. Man, I've known Jeff since like 2013, 14, and I've been asking that dude to freaking collab on beer forever, but he's a very, very busy man. Actually, I just ran into him for his Black is Beautiful release a week or so ago, and I think there might be some traction going there now that he see that I'm a lot more serious about this brewing stuff. So we never know. Might be an Urban Jungle, Black Farm, the North Farm of Texas, and the South Farm of Texas is going to go ahead and collaborate on something special. So hopefully that do happen soon.
So how did you end up hooking up with The Answer to do a Black is Beautiful collab?
Oh man, shit! I'm so sorry to everybody at The Answer. I'm so sorry I didn't even mention you as a collab, but thank you so much for bringing that up. That actually started.
I'm here to save you.
Yeah, I don't know if you know CM Bryant. He's a big advocate for beer in Richmond, and I believe he had a side gig over there at The Answer. So he actually came to Austin, I want to say like in October, November of last year. And I invited him up to my house to drink and bottle share and do some cool stuff. And he was like, man, I've been working at The Answer for some time. I've been talking to them about doing a collaboration. But, they say they want to do it, but I'm not too ready. But he's like, I know you know how to really brew beer, and it would be great if we could do something together. And I was like, man, hell yeah. Like, whenever you're ready, just let me know. And then it kind of went radio silent and we never talked about it again. Then when Black is Beautiful, the initiative started and really picking back up. he reached back out to me. Is like, hey man, I'm trying to do something. Like, remember that conversation we had about 4 or 5 months ago about brewing a beer? I really want to do something. I'm like, yeah, man, just let me know. But I wasn't really putting 2 and 2 together, like, you know, the brew with the answer of all people. And he was like, actually, you know, I want to do a brewery. I want to do a beer, and we're going to do the Black is Beautiful, but I want to do something extreme. And the answer is on board with it. And I actually got to meet everybody at the answer. When did I meet them? It was at the Ashland anniversary last year. I think that was also in like September. I don't know. I might be wrong, but whatever. I met them, and we all talked about doing a beer together back then. And they were like, I remember that conversation with that guy. Like, let's do a beer. And then we was like, well, let's do Black is Beautiful. So we started talking about the recipe, and I was like, damn, you know, we got to get Marcus with Weather Souls in there. So it kind of started to where we started to get all these local people together. We got Eric with Uncapped. We got Marcus with Weather Souls. We got the Brian and Sean Preston brothers. A few other people together to where we kind of collaborated on building this recipe together. And it all just kind of came out like, how extreme can we make it? Like, we want to put 14 karat gold edible flakes in this shit, plus glitter to help that shit shine more, and coffee and maple and all of that. And then it was just like everything just started falling in place. Like every time we talked, it was just like, damn, this beer is coming together. And I believe it was Black Ninja Designs who do glassware and such. He was like, man, I'm about to go ahead and just do a little logo for you guys for this one. And then when he dropped that damn logo, it was like, bruh, that's it. Took the Tupac lyrics and put all of our names on it. And man, that shit actually, I'm so shocked at how quick that beer sold. I think it sold out in like 2 or 3 minutes. And
it was fast.
Dude, it was chaos. And then I wasn't aware that there was going to be 2 versions of it. The version without all the glitter and all that, and the flakes and all that, plus that one. So there was the gold and the black version. And that shit just sold out so crazy. But the feedback on that beer and that recipe has been absolutely amazing. Like, I do be stalking Untapped. So anybody out there rating my beer, I'm watching and I'll follow your ass.
So whose idea was it to put the glitter in?
That was actually a group discussion. So when we put the 14 karat gold flakes in it, we didn't realize how much 14 karat gold flakes had to come into a beer. I think we brewed like 5 to 10 barrels. It was a big batch of this beer. And we bought we bought a lot. Like, that 14 karat gold shit wasn't cheap. But it came out to like, it was like maybe a quarter of what we actually needed to the beer. And it was already too late because we were at the moment of packaging, and it was like, what are we going to do? Then it was like, no, we have to do the edible glitter in there as well. Gold glitter to help shine. So if you really pay attention and people do have cans, you might be able to see actual gold flakes floating around in the beer with the glitter as well.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So what is actually, let's take one more. I just realized how long we'd been talking.
Shit, yeah.
I mean, we have no time limit, but I better just fit in the another sponsor break.
It's Friday and I'm drinking. I'm free.
So let's I still want to talk about your Instagram a little bit more once we get back, but let's take a real quick sponsor break, and then we will be right back. There are many reasons why I have chosen District East for where I purchase beer. I love the flexibility of being able to make a custom 6-pack or take home a crowler from one of the 8 beers on tap. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff do an amazing job at keeping a diverse selection on hand. You can even purchase artwork from the monthly featured artist. District East is located on Northeast Street in Frederick, in the same shopping center as Family Mill and Rockwell Brewery. You can find today's beer lists on the District East Facebook page or at www.districteast.beer. I'm excited to announce our newest sponsor, Vanish Farmwoods Brewery. Vanish is a brewery and entertainment complex located on a 62-acre hops and apple farm in Luckett's, Virginia, just 20 minutes from Frederick, Maryland and Leesburg, Virginia. With over 20 beers on tap, a selection of wines and ciders, along with multiple food options, there is something for everyone. Vanish has live music on Saturdays and Sundays and a wide variety of special events. Go to vanishbeer.com for information on everything they have to offer. So what is the coolest experience that your popularity has afforded you to be able to participate in?
I would say the greatest experience, man. There's a lot. I would think that the
I know
opportunity.
you just just listed at least a dozen contenders.
No, if I had to really put one on a pedestal, I think I would forever dearly hold Brewing with Guinness Brewery in my heart. One, because it was like, I remember way back when like Guinness, I consider that the worst beer ever out there. The fact that out of breweries that have been doing way more and more successful than me, I mean, I'm not even, bro. I'm just a persona or a thing or an image on Instagram to a lot of people. But the fact that I was able to physically brew beer with them, and nobody else has really had that opportunity to do that, I'm forever grateful, and that's something that I'll hold dearly to my heart. But one thing that I will also say that I hold on a high pedestal is being a part of the very first Fresh Fest. Having the opportunity to showcase beer in a huge magnitude of that way to the people of color and introducing them to beer, that was absolutely amazing. And major shout out to Dancing Gnome for allowing the opportunity of me to brew that beer and develop a recipe to be able to be brewed on a large scale. So those are probably really two great moments. Next to hopefully when I open my own brewery, that'll probably trump it all, because I mean, I know right now, especially with the times of the world where owning a brewery is very questionable and COVID is really hurting. Right now in Texas, we have a big thing, a new hashtag is Save Texas Breweries, because of the laws that we have in place, and with COVID and restrictions that the governor has put in place, it is really hurting a lot of breweries here in Texas, which is forcing a lot of them to close. So I know that's one major risk that could be, a little scary for people to want to pledge anything to the Kickstarter to start. But, I hate to say it, it's very sad to see these breweries go, especially some that I really consider as friends. But at the same time, it's a little fortunate because it allows like opportunity for when I start mine to be a little bit more discounted on certain things that I'm chasing, maybe as far as equipment and stuff, because there's going to unfortunately, there's going to be equipment out there that these owners who are just, husband and wife or just single owners can't take to their normal house. And they have to let these go, or it's going to go to the landlord or the owner of the property if they don't own it themselves. Or like, hey, what are you going to do? Now we're going to auction it. And that really sucks, because some of these people put like, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 into their systems and probably got to sell them for a quarter of that price, which has been for me as a new guy. But it just sucks to see that it's coming down to this. So it's all about, the wave of like who's coming out, who's coming in order to save Texas breweries. Yes, we do need to go visit all breweries and support Beer to Go and enjoy time in the tap room. But at the same time, we need to support breweries that's willing to come in during this hard time and uplift the community back in beer. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to with this journey that I'm starting.
Yeah, that was one of the things with talking to Marcus that I was thankful for how things have gone in Maryland, is that our governor actually put out executive orders that were a lifeline to breweries. He made it legal for breweries to deliver to the home and to ship beer to within Maryland. As long as you've made it in Maryland, you could ship it to an address in Maryland.
Damn.
And then to even add to, have you heard of Beer Me?
That sounds very familiar.
It's a website breweries are using for home delivery and pickup ordering. But it was a Maryland brewery that him and his good friend, I think he's an investor in his brewery. They developed Beer Me. It's used nationwide now, but it started in Maryland. So that's also been a huge lifeline to Maryland breweries.
Wow, dude, I think, shit, man, if our damn governor.
Yeah, so thankfully.
I'm going to say it. Our governor is a fucking whack, bro. That dude sucks. And I wish he would do something like that, because that would make all the game. Because Texas is such a big state. There's breweries in areas that, like, it'll take you out. A lot of people don't know, like when you trying to drive and leave the state of Texas, let's say you're trying to go to a neighboring state, dude, sometimes depending on where you're going, it takes like 8 hours to get the hell out of this state.
It's like California, where like you hear two different places. Like when I went to, I've only been to I've had a layover in Dallas once, going to Lafayette, Louisiana. So I've never spent time in Texas, but it's the same. Like I went out to California for something. I was like, oh, I'll try to go there, and I look it up, and it's like an 8-hour drive to get there. Like, how big is this state?
It's the same thing. People come here or any other place, like I'm in Houston, but I'm gonna go to Jefferson King for the day, and it's like, dude, that's like a 3-hour drive. Now you're talking 6 hours if you're doing a round trip. Like it's so freaking far to get to anywhere. But if we can ship beer within the state of Texas, as long as it's brewed in the state, I think that would make all the difference in saving breweries. Man, I mean, I just did a damn article for Austin Beer Guide, and this is their cover. It's like, they just cool. The bear to try to tell people that only you can save Texas breweries. And it's just hard. Oh, also, if you're in Texas, make sure you get that, because I got a full-blown 3-page article in the Awesome Beer Guide this edition.
That's pretty awesome.
It's really hard for breweries to survive out here, just because, one, there are breweries in certain locations who just don't have the community to get their beer out to, and they're not in grocery stores, and they're not distributing, and they're not doing any, and they don't have self-carrying permits. Which is really limiting them, because nobody foresaw anything like this happening to the country or the world. And because of COVID, is making me take the necessary steps, which is that Kickstarter is going to help, because I need licensing. I need to be self-distribution. But in order to self-distribute in the state of Texas, you need to have a carrier's permit, which means that when I brew my beer, I have to legally hold a permit that allows me to take my beer and drive it to the bar across the street. And that's why I have self-distribution, because we have the laws kind of here in Texas, to where in order for me to serve my beer on tap to people, I have to sell it to a distributor, buy it back before I pour the first pint, and the keg never left my brewery.
Yeah, so Maryland had a lot of that stuff. It was Guinness coming to Maryland that actually was a catalyst for getting a lot of laws changed. They caught some flack at first, because the original bills written were kind of carve outs that only affected Guinness. Then they pulled their support of that bill, and then supported the Brewers Association of Maryland's bills, and like put their lobbying power behind it. But Guinness was actually I think at least a driving force to a lot of the more beer friendly laws passing in Maryland.
Wow. See, it baffles me of how crazy law can be in many states when it comes to beer. But nothing else in the state where you are is beer.
Well, so it was 2 years ago now, when there was this big battle over beer laws in Maryland. And I had often said, I rarely paid attention to politics, but I somehow went from only interviewing brewery owners or brewers to having the comptroller of Maryland on my podcast, having senators on my podcast, having people running for governor on my podcast, just to talk about beer legislation, because it had become such a heated topic in Maryland.
Yeah, and that's the same here. It's surprising that, well, it's not surprising. I'll say, like, I think it's just that stigma of, like, there's other things to worry about when you're running for governor and Senate and things like that in your county, your district, and your state, that, like, we have to have conversations about consuming beer.
Yeah.
Like, nobody campaign is around that. Like, nobody's running for president, and part of their campaign is like, oh, by the way, we about to legalize the shit out of beer.
Yeah.
Because it's something that is like, why are states and counties and governors and mayor, and like, why is everybody like so tone deaf to when it comes to beer, that it's like this like forbidden fruit of the community when there's other things of like, you know, there's like meth problems and, you know, heroin and poverty and things like that. But we out here have to advocate about drinking some damn beer.
Well, I think, unfortunately, it's like so many other things in life that there are powerful, wealthy lobbies that benefit from breweries not
That is true.
having the things loosen up. So, there's probably still some of that abolition, purity type stuff there. But I think it's a lot more to do with
Georgia, like recently passing that shit. Like they couldn't make anything over like 12% or something goofy like that.
I think there was a couple states like that.
Yeah, I think Alabama was kind of that way too. Yeah, it's weird.
But a lot of it more, I think, has to do with money.
Yeah,
like everything in life.
Like I said, our beer to go laws has changed, and like we can buy alcohol at 10 a.m. instead of 12 p.m. on Sundays now.
Living large.
We're living great now, man. But liquor stores are still closed on Sundays.
So, to rewind real quick, who did you brew with when you were at Guinness? Who were the brewers you were with? I remember seeing the post on Instagram now, but I don't remember which brewers you were working with.
I hate that you asked that because that shit was I don't remember nobody's name. Oh my God, I'm a bad guy. There was a guy,
Sean.
That's the redhead dude, right?
Yeah,
Sean. That was
from Jolly.
I wish I would have said it, dude. You got me, bro.
From Jolly Pumpkin. That Sean
I
is
almost
awesome.
said Sean too. He was great. Dude, he's awesome. And it was surprising because I think when him and I was talking when I was out there, he was like had a background kind of familiarizing with Jeff or Jessica King because I think he worked at Jolly Pumpkin. Yeah, which Jeff at Jessica King like praises them like to the almighty of like, you know, they kind of paved the way for him. And then there, what's the girl name?
Holly.
She was amazing.
Holly is awesome.
Dude, she is so freaking cool. She gave me her number, but then I upgraded from Android to iPhone and I lost it. So I literally have to figure out a way to reach out to both of them. I know Sean, I haven't seen him on Instagram, but I don't think he was that active in the first place.
Yeah, he's not super active.
Yeah, I would love to get back in touch with her too. They were like the most amazing hosts at a brewery I've ever had. And then you know what shocks me? You probably know this, but I was telling people when I did the collaboration with Guinness, I was like, do y'all know Guinness like actually brew like other shit? Like it's not just a stout and a blonde. Like when I was hanging out at that brewery, dude, they had hazy IPA,
everything.
Sour. They even had a pastry stout on time. I was like, I didn't know they even brew shit like that, dude.
Well, I mean, look at their staff of brewers. They've all come from amazing breweries.
And when I collaborated, when everybody started telling me their background, dude, I was like ready to just fucking snatch my hairnet, beard net off, and pack my bag. I was like, I'm not even worthy to be here because there's so much experience and talent in that brewery. Man, Guinness is dope as shit, man. I would love to go back to that place, man.
Did you meet Ryan Wagner while you were there? He's the brewery ambassador.
Does he handle the tours and stuff?
He does a lot of tour stuff. He also is the voice of the Orioles. So he's got a silky smooth voice.
If we talking about the thing, I remember him. He was a cool dude. He gave the whole tour. The way that he delivered the
black
tour,
beard, black glasses.
Yeah. And the way he fucking conducted that tour, I was like,
oh, he knows everything
on stage to you, man. Like, damn.
So he has promised me that he will ensure that there is never a Guinness product with my face on it. Because every time I see him, he gives me crap about my face being on beers.
Dude, I would love to come back out to Maryland, man, and visit that brewery, but also others. I was so consumed with Guinness and just in awe. I didn't get to visit nobody else while I was out there. I did take one day trip up to DC to eat at Kith and Kin, and that shit was amazing. But other than that, I didn't even get to check nobody else out because I was just like like I was at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, like the Guinness. I always tell people what got me when I first went to Guinness was that damn gate, man. When that shit opens up and it just opens up to like this and all those steps that lead up. Oh my God, dude, that's like my dream brewery. I wish I was
the place.
That.
I mean, I think it only costs like $90 million.
Oh yeah, like I said,
small project.
Things, I wish I was balling like that.
Yeah, that place is definitely beautiful.
It's beautiful. If
there was a
please go to Guinness in Maryland, dude. It'll change your life.
And they just redid the courtyard area.
Wow.
They got rid of the grass and they put in artificial turf. And so it's still shaped like the gravity glass, but then they also have, since it's artificial turf, they have a big, huge Guinness harp in the middle of it too now. It looks awesome.
I have to go back, man. Hopefully the world gets back to normal someday.
Yeah.
Are they open like during these times?
They just I can never remember what the current status is. I think breweries are at 50%
have like 100 million square feet of property. So
yeah, I mean they have plenty.
Easy.
Yeah. They opened up maybe a month or so ago. They opened back up. They were closed for a while and stayed closed a little bit longer, but they're doing what a large corporation does, make sure everything's very, very safe and following all the procedures and everything.
And I was like, they had some crazy protocols. That's one thing I always tell people, like, I have never brewed in a brewery that was that freaking clean and tedious. And like it came to the point, like I think I had a net over my beard and it somehow came off of my ear.
Yeah, actually I found the picture from you posted on Instagram so I could see who all was in it, and there's the big huge hairnet on your beard.
Yeah. Dude, I shaved my head that morning and they still made me wear a hairnet. When we had Dave Bracey, we had hairnets on. We was like, we just shaved this morning. It was like, we can't even take a risk of like one hair follicle falling into this beard. And then it was just so clean. I remember like my beard net came off and I mean, dude, it was like a record screeched in a silent room. It was just like everybody stopped. And it was like, dude, you gotta go. It was crazy, man. I appreciate the quality or the standards that they put in place to make the type of beer that they make. Because they make a lot of that shit too.
It's weird how Guinness kind of straddles that. I mean, they're a multi continental corporation, but they straddle this area in between macro brewery and craft breweries. Like they have the personality of at least definitely there 100% of a craft brewery.
Yeah, and that's actually the shout out that I gave to them in this magazine. I think the very first paragraph I put in the Awesome Beer Guide was like, what did I put in there? The people was asking like, what's my favorite brewery? And I was like, if you must know, it's Guinness Brewery in Baltimore, Maryland. Although there is a debate if they're even considered a craft brewery.
Well, they are a member of the Maryland Brewers Association.
I consider them a craft brewery. I mean, I know they're large as shit, but they ain't on no AB InBev fuckery.
And I think that's probably a big too. I mean, I think they've been accused some things in their spirits portfolio realm.
Gotcha.
But that's in the parent company area. But in beer, you never hear about them doing the same kinds of anti-craft beer things that AB InBev does.
Exactly.
So at least in my mind, that makes them a way better multi-continental
better candidate of craft beer than anybody. Yeah. So yeah, Guinness, your craft brewery in the Brew Brothers book, that's for sure.
So and just the pedigree of the brewers there. I mean that's it. It does it too.
Yeah, and I mean the pressure that they gotta have to be like, you gotta be clean and tedious and be able to consecutively make the same shit over and over again. I'm sorry, but that shit takes skill, what they do over there on that size system too. I'm sorry, that shit takes skill.
So where did the name Urban Jungle come from?
So Urban Jungle. If you were to visit Austin when it's safe and visit my house, literally the moment you walk through the front door of my house, you're in a rainforest. I have actual live living trees in my house. I also have exotic plants like monsteras, philandrons, elephant. Like, oh shit, man! I hope the fucking USDA agricultural company. But every time I travel international, I smuggle plants back into the country. I hope I didn't start COVID, but I smuggle plants back into the country and I plant them at my house and propagate and do all this shit. But my house is a jungle. Like I have plants everywhere from the inside to my patio, but I'm also a green thumb per se. I'm very hands-on. I have a full-blown garden in my backyard where I grow bell peppers, okra. I got like probably about 5 or 6 peach trees, 3 pear trees. I grow figs, mint, basil. Like I got all types of stuff growing all over my entire property that I have right now. And it also came too because I live in the suburbs. So we're dancing with names. So just to give people a little background, when I originally started thinking about opening a brewery, the original name of my brewery was supposed to be Monstera Brewing. And that was the Instagram account, Facebook, all of that I started. And with Monstera, it's like that's my favorite plant in the world is the Monstera plant. It's also known as the Swiss cheese plant because it's a big leaf that looks like a hop. It's the shape of a hop, and it got all these little holes in it that look like Swiss cheese. And I was like, damn, that's kind of cool that it looks like a hop and everything. That's like really cool to tie it into beer. So Monstera Brewing was my thing. But then it just got to the point where I was like, I just needed something to capture people a little bit more. I live in the suburbs. I'm a good quote unquote farmer. And I love to, grow and propagate my own fruits, vegetables, and even just flowers and things like that. So instead of being the suburban jungle or the jungle of suburbs, it was like, let's just make it urban jungle. And coincidentally, there was a brewery that used to be called Urban Jungle that tried to start off in, I believe, San Diego back in like 2013, 2014. And they must have hit some brick walls or things like that because it never actually became a brewery. And the cool thing is about that is that they never copyrighted or trademarked the name. So when I was like, I would be Urban Jungle, the very first thing that I did when I became to try to start Urban Jungle was to copyright and trademark Urban Jungle and Urban Jungle monikers. So I trademarked and copyrighted Urban Jungle Brew, Urban Jungle Brewing, Urban Jungle Brewery, all of that. So Urban Jungle is mine. And so that's basically how it came. It's like now I have to run with it because I put the money into copywriting, trademarking, and reserving this thing.
That's a cool name, though.
Yeah, it turned out to be a cool name. And then the logo came to where I was able to design the logo to switch it from Monstera to Urban Jungle. And I love the logo to Urban Jungle right now.
Is it those leaves coming out from behind the are those Monstera plant?
Yeah,
leaves?
so they're Monstera, and I believe that they're elephant ears too. I'm about to pull it up right now because now I'm like, you trying to catch me off guard. Hey, I wasn't ready for this. Oh yeah, so it is Monsteras and a couple of other leaves. But mostly it's Monsteras that's coming out of there. So I still kept the Monstera leaf theme in there, but kind of just made it a little bit more fancy, like Chip and Joanna style fancy.
It's cool. I like it. It looks cool.
So I think it's going to play well. It's a cool logo. We already got a lot of the merch in because I just had this gut feeling, and I was telling everybody, I was like, when we start this Kickstarter, when we set up the tiers and how much people can like buy t-shirts or join the membership and all that, I just have this feeling that it's going to skyrocket. So we have a shit ton of shirts and everything, and we're trying to recoup all of that. But I mean, we would love to fulfill every single order and all of the merch and everything. Is just, that's what that Kickstarter is going to help assist with all that, to make sure we get every single person that has pledged to us taken care of.
So if there was one brewery that you could do a collab with that you haven't had a chance to, who would it be?
Damn it, man. You killing me with this interview today. I don't want to piss nobody off, but if there's anybody.
Well, okay, we'll preface it with, of course, all 8,000 you would want to with.
I would collab with all 8,500
Yeah.
breeds, except the ones that's been blatantly racist about shit.
Oh yeah.
But if there's
thank goodness for the good of the world that Worst Beer Blog does to let us know
man,
who not to support.
If anybody needs to start a Kickstarter, that motherfucker, I'll fucking say that shit because he's doing the people's work right now. No, but if there's one brewery in the entire world that I can collab with, and I can take it as an opportunity to like, it's a collaboration where I'm gonna learn shit and I can bring it into my brewery. It'll probably be with Corey King with Side Project.
Where's that?
That is in, if I'm not mistaken, it's in Missouri, and I want to say it's in St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, but
you can tell me anything and I'm gonna believe you.
Side Project, man. If I can work with Corey King and just understand his process of blending barrels and finessing style, I think he makes some of the best stouts in the country, hands down. And I would love to be on his level when it comes to my barrel blending and stout brewing. So if there's anybody, it would be him. Probably next in line would be Cantillon, because I would love the whole lambic process and everything that they do with their cellar and stuff when it comes. But right now, I'll probably say it'd be Corey King and Side Project and the shared beer program that he also has with his brewery.
What's your favorite style of beer?
My favorite style at the moment, I'm just going to be on right now, it's lagers. I'm a huge lager fan. I probably don't think I'm going to brew that much of it when I do it, but I'm definitely going to try to finesse it. That's still something, even as a home brewer, I'm still trying to finesse that style of beer. But I love a clean, crisp lager. And I think the main reason behind that is because living in Texas, it gets hot as hell out here.
I can't be out there drinking pastry stouts and smoothie.
% pastry town pretzel peanut butter chocolate chip Lay's chip fucking pastry stouts when it's 108 degrees, but I can crush a 4% lager or a Kolsch or a German Pils any day. But prior to that, I was definitely a big fruited sour guy. I love fruit sours. I can drink those all day.
So yeah, me too, and hence why.
Yeah, I was like, I'm drinking a stout now, but I sure wish I had like a fruited sour right now. Yep.
There we go.
Dope logo.
Give them
my homies in Houston, Urban South. I did a Black is Beautiful collab with them, and they make some crazy like fruit forward sours where it's just like 99% of it is like fruit. It's just so thick, but their blending of fruits is just crazy.
I'll have to see if Full Tilt will send you some of these.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then see if we can do a collab too. I'll brew beer Full Tilt all day.
They like to do that. They're big on that. They're a really fun group, and they're right north of Baltimore.
Nice.
I lost. Oh, were you one of the people that? No, I don't see. You didn't have the mustard beer.
Hell no, I saw the mustard beer, but I haven't. Man, that shit. No. Okay, beer sometimes, man.
That's what I like. You see so many of the people on Instagram that were doing the paid promotions with it, and I really want
a paid promotion with that one.
Yeah, they sent the beer and then a big like cooler bag,
a mustard beer,
and all of them said that it was good, but
really,
well, I mean, it was an ad, so like I really want to know, was it actually good? Although we'll bring up Worst Beer Blog again. He obviously shared that, and there were a bunch of people replying that it was actually good.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'm ISO. Then I'll be looking out for that to try that. Fuck. I don't know, man.
I probably won't try it.
I guess I'll do a sauerkraut hazy IPA. Yeah. Kimchi sour.
Well, there was a brewery in Pennsylvania that made a hot dog IPA.
Didn't the Veil do like a fried chicken? It was like
fried chicken.
Oh man,
Yeah, that's just, I don't know. I think
yeah.
that might
There's a
be.
brewery in Texas that's talking about doing like a chicken and biscuits beer. I haven't looked into it because that same brewery has not spoken or done anything for the Black is Beautiful initiative, so I don't give a shit about them right now. But I just saw a post earlier that they were doing some kind of like chicken and biscuit beer, but I don't know if they're physically putting chicken and biscuits in that shit.
You know Caitlin, right?
Yeah.
She's one of the people that had the
Oh yeah, she did. No,
had
hey,
the,
Taylor's the homie, man. I
yeah.
love her to death.
I mean, I'm not nearly at the level you are, but I credit her to having an even tiny fraction of a successful Instagram account, because she had breakfast with, well, we met for coffee one morning,
Oh
and
wow.
she was like, here, do this, and this, and like I did everything she said, and it just took off.
Yeah, man. I remember meeting her for the first time when I first moved here, when she was just getting started. And I was telling her to do this, and this. And now to see how well evolved her Instagram account has came, I'm super proud of her. She's a real good homie and advocate for beer here in Texas.
Yeah. Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to get a refresher course from you then, to how can I reach Brew Brother level instead of
Man,
where
everybody always asks me that as I have. And you know what? I'm gonna be the first. I'm gonna be the first to say that, man. I wouldn't even be surprised. Like Instagram don't allow you to follow everybody back once you get to a certain amount of followers.
Mhm.
They kind of cap you at how many followers you can follow and how much reach you get. So I wouldn't be surprised, man, if a good decent chunk of my damn followers are like bots and shit that I just never got. Like, to think about it, dude, it's so hard to fucking like and visit every single person's page when you have like 25,000 plus followers.
Yeah.
And sometimes, man, I'll be chatting with people, or I'll just see a certain like when I'm scrolling, and it's like, oh shit, like you look like you got a dope account. And I go to their page, and it's like, I've never followed you. But like when I post pictures, like my shit is like, soon as I like see a history of like the people that like my pictures, and I go to somebody's page to go to follow them, soon as I go back, that whole list has changed because of so many people liking my damn pictures that I can't even keep track of like who all I follow and don't follow. So I apologize if there's anybody out there who follow me and feel like this motherfucker never liked my pictures. Like, I'm so sorry. Instagram, blame them for that.
I'd say I know there are, like, every once in a while I think like, I haven't seen a photo from this person in forever, and then like I'll intentionally go to their account, and then I'll just see a ton of awesome stuff.
Damn photos that I've never even got to see on my feed.
Stupid Facebook.
Yeah, it's Facebook. Man. That shit, it was all when Facebook took over Instagram. That shit just went crazy, man.
How long, what's your projected timeline to be able to open Urban Jungle?
Great question. With Urban Jungle, look, I'm so without Kickstarter and everything, and I'm just looking at, to be realistic, I'm looking at Q4 2022 for the grand opening party of Urban Jungle Brewing. Obviously, if we do meet the Kickstarter goal, that would definitely help out a lot, because that's going to jumpstart a lot of things, probably about 10 to 12 months. So there's a good, strong possibility it could be like Q4 or Q4 2021 or Q2 or Q2, Q1, Q2 2022. But as a realistic goal of just doing everything on our own and trying to get this going, we're planning to open Q4 2022.
And you alluded to it earlier. You mentioned it a little bit. You have a strong business background too.
I do.
You're not just a home brewer that's like, you know what, I'm gonna open a brewery.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure every home brewer out there in the world is like, I brewed 4 beers and my neighbor said it's great, so I'm opening a brewery today. But no, I actually do have a strong background. I've been in commercial real estate for about 10 plus years, and I actually helped assisted a lot of breweries, bottle shops, and other businesses in beer open brick and mortar in California and here in Texas. So I do know the pros and cons, especially here in Texas, of what it takes to open a brewery and operate a brewery, especially if you're leasing space from a landlord, because I am a landlord. To dive in, when I tell people that I'm in commercial real estate, is that I'm a property manager. So I do commercial real estate of the management of assets for owners that own properties, and I navigate my leasing team to develop leases. There's a few breweries here in Austin, Texas, where technically I'm the landlord of their business.
Okay.
But that also helps me, because if I don't, so worst case scenario, we don't get the farm that we're looking at. We already put an offer in on the farm, and hopefully that get accepted in the next week for quite a few acres here in North Austin. But if that don't work out, at least I have the background of being in commercial real estate to land a brick and mortar in an industrial space or retail space. And I know leasing. So I know what type of things to ask for in a lease to help benefit me to opening a brewery and not fall into the same holes or red tape or obstacles that other breweries have fell into. So when I say that it may not be farmed, so that's why we kind of switched the whole Kickstarter to a farm inspired brewery, because we wanted to have that backup plan to, like, if we don't get the land a farm, at least we will have a brick and mortar somewhere that will be inspired by a farm.
Yeah.
And we can be able to do that because I'm able to negotiate leasing and find the perfect property that I feel will help benefit Urban Jungle Brewing.
So it's actually interesting then. You have all rolled into yourself kind of like the three pillars that a lot of breweries have for to be a successful brewery.
Yeah.
You're a brewer, you have the business background added in real estate, so that's going to really help you find the right place, and a strong marketing and brand building experience from your Instagram account. So it's
exactly. Yeah, so from the Instagram account, I mean, even before I even moved to Texas, when I was living in LA, I had a brand marketing company in California where I was helping mom and pop restaurants curate a craft beer menu. Like I only worked in restaurants that actually had a tap wall and menu. And I was working with them on getting them connected with other breweries to get exclusive kegs and taps to get it featured into their brewery to kind of encourage the craft beer community. Like, damn, I'm going to go to this restaurant and enjoy some pizza or some brunch or shit, because I know that they got, and this was like a few years ago when it was like fundamental observation from Bottle Logic was very rare. And it's like, this is the only place in LA that I can go get that without having to draw to Orange County. Or, you know, I can get these specific brewery beers or modern time beers, or even when Vista Brewing started, I'm saying not Vista Brewing, but Toolbox Brewing in San Diego started, when they were doing sour, their beers are only in the San Diego area. And I was the one who kind of got them into LA, into certain restaurants. So I used to help curate their beer menus to pair with their food. And I used to handle their social media. And that's what kind of helped me develop the Brew Brother and kind of really piggyback off of what I was doing for them and hosting events at their specific restaurants and beer related events that bring the crowd in. But yeah, no, I think I have the skill set that unfortunately a lot of other brewers and business owners in general don't have, just because I have that background. So when a lot of people open businesses, whether it's a brewery or anything, when they get a brick and mortar in a place, they depend on like their broker to work out the best deal that they could possibly get with the owner's broker. But since I know the full side of being in commercial real estate and property management, I've seen both sides of the spectrum. So I know that what it takes, basically I know how to work the system of real estate to make sure it benefits me.
You live behind the curtain.
Background, and then I also know the brewing. So I'm a trifecta to be able to be a little bit, I don't want to say I could be more successful because I don't want to downplay any other brewery out there and what they're doing. Salute to everybody. But I just feel like I just have that extra nudge to where I can make sure that we don't get the short end of the stick in any deal that we make.
Well, I think it's the the business side and the marketing side that sometimes new breweries struggle with. Like it's someone who's a really good brewer that decides to open a brewery, but they don't have those other things that they've been experienced with. So it's not enough to just
develop following, because I feel like with Urban Jungle Brewing, obviously I could piggyback off the Brew Brother account to help support the people to come to want to see like what is the venture that Brew Brother is starting. So that's one thing that I hope I can change, because I don't want it to be like it's the Brew Brothers Brewery, it's the Brew Brother Brewery. Like it's not, it's Urban Jungle. I'm gonna have a team. There's multiple people involved, and I want it to be to where like like a lot of you people who know about it obviously came from the Brew Brother account to understand the marketing of it and what I'm reaching out to. But please understand that Urban Jungle is something that I'm very passionate about, a lot more than the Brew Brother. And I want this thing to be successful and take off for sure.
Oh, and then your wife also runs a popular Instagram account too. So that's
popular? I don't know. She catching up to me, man. But she got a much better Instagram than me. She drink a lot of fruited sours. I don't know. She started putting her butt out and shit on posts and everything. It's like I can't do all that. Ain't nobody trying to see my black hairy ass.
There's a fan of everything.
Man, her Instagram is starting to pop off really well, and she's really great at marketing too. With her help, I think we can get a really decent crowd to come out and check out the brewery for sure.
Yeah. I see you two are also fans of the same glassware company as I am. Yeah, we have a lot of the same glassware.
Yeah. I actually need to slow down on the glassware. I got way too many beer glasses.
You're preaching to the choir, man.
I need to get like 5 good glasses and just use those.
I wouldn't be able to whittle my obscene collection.
I'm bad, dude. I even gave away a lot of glasses to neighbors, like just to be nice. And I donated some to Goodwill too, and it hasn't even put a dent. I probably at this very moment have at least 200 different types of glasses in the house.
I'm
crazy.
I want to say I'm not that bad, but I can't honestly say that I'm positive I'm not that bad.
No, we get to the point someday I'm like, let me see what glass. And I grab one. I was like, damn, I remember I bought this glass in 2015. Like, why do I still have it? Like,
I just ordered. I ordered a Homestar Runner one today from Twin Elephant. Never heard of the brewer.
I'm gonna have to clear it out because I'm actually in production for Urban Jungle glasses right now. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a decent stock of those in the house. So I really need to make some room.
What style glassware are you gonna have?
Man, that's a good question. So if the Kickstarter do start off, even if it don't, I'm gonna still reach out to everybody who actually pledged to be a member of Urban Jungle, which is the Urban Night membership. There's some very, very special glasses. I ain't gonna say it live because I don't know. I haven't seen them in a lot of other people's posts. But if you become a member by pledging on Kickstarter for the membership, there's some very exclusive special glassware that's going to be out there. But other than that, my other glassware is going to be the William Beecher glasses. Okay. And outside of that, I haven't looked at anything else. I was thinking about reaching out to like some glass blowers. And I know that, they can't make the same glass every time, but I'm looking for something that's like very, very unique.
You want to get on that 450 450 Brewing's $200 a glass.
Could do that too. No, but I got some exclusive shit for all the members, man. I really hope this Kickstarter reaches its goal, because I think everybody who's pledged to be a member of Urban Jungle, the official Urban Nights, are going to get some glassware that's going to blow people's mind, man. It's some dope shit. I actually have a few samples in, and I'm approving them today, or I approved them today, and they're going to start going in production. So even if it don't work out, I'm going to still reach out to the people who wants to be members of the Urban Jungle program, and we'll definitely still figure out a way to get them the perks that they pledged for.
So you had said you were going to talk about diversity and inclusion at Beer Now. What types of like maybe a bullet point of what your presentation was going to cover?
So basically, we were going to do a panel where I was going to be the moderator, and then there was going to be 5 individuals that was going to join in. Marcus, who Weathered Souls, was going to be one of those members. That's why I kind of wish like things kind of went a little different this year. But then again, because of the way things went, maybe Black is Beautiful. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, unfortunately, I'm gonna just be blunt. You know, if it wasn't for particular Black people suffering and being killed in the public eye, there probably would have been others, and maybe Black is Beautiful would have still been a thing that was launched. But
I
he
think
was
COVID probably played a role in that too, though, because it kind of.
I kind of think that COVID helped bring the awareness, because let's just address an elephant in the room here. Black people, especially Black people, have been murdered by police for years. And it kind of, you had videos, you kind of had things, and it kind of went under the radar. But I think with COVID, it kind of locked people at home, where it was like a situation where you just cannot go to work the next day and fucking forget about this man being choked out in the middle of the fucking street, or a mentally ill woman being shot 5 times because a man tased her with a taser that only had 1 discharge, and he killed her because he was in fear of his life because she grabbed the taser. It's like she couldn't shoot it again. But no, and then Breonna Taylor, like, let's talk about that situation with her being killed in her own home by answering the door.
Yeah, so I think like COVID had this underlying layer of people already tense.
Exactly.
And then it was kind of like these atrocities happened, and it lit a fire that took people to levels of action that may not have happened if there wasn't that underlying tension already there. Yeah.
So I definitely think it helped with that for sure. And may God bless and rest the souls of those that have been lost for the shit that's been going on, like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Fidel Castro, like everybody. I'm sorry, Philandro Castro. I said Fidel, but Philandro Castro, like everybody who's been just like had to suffer, and their families and friends that had to suffer from things like that. But with this diversity inclusion, it was going to be, Marcus Weathered Souls. I had my homegirl Sheila from Holdout Brewing here in Austin. She's part of the LGBTQ community. I had women, I had men, I had people from all different backgrounds, but I was going to use brewers, people who are front house staff, and then I had a couple of members who was part of magazines or publications here in Texas that never actually like written or dove in to diversity inclusion or talked to people of minority backgrounds. And then I also had a couple of consumers, because I wanted everybody to see it from all aspects, from brewery owner to front house office manager to publications to the people who actually drink the beer that come in as a consumer. And it was going to be this whole panel that was going to discuss everything in front of everybody. But now with beer now being pushed back, because that was supposed to be like last week, right?
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Yeah, so that was supposed to happen, and I think they kind of pushed it out to November. And now, since we kind of shifted things a little bit, that depends if this actually truly happens in November. Is that now I'm not going to do a diversity panel. I'm actually going to do a diversity inclusion keynote. Okay. If it still happens, where I'm gonna get some time to really. I hope we have the time to like host this in some kind of auditorium or something where there's people sitting there where I can just be I'm just going to address the elephant in the room, man, and kind of really dive in and let every brewer there, especially as I'm pretty sure majority attendees are going to be Texas and mostly Austin, Texas breweries and owners, and just be like, hey, man, look to your left and look to your right. Do you see people of color sitting next to you. Like, just tell me right now, how many black people, Mexicans, Asians do you see in this room right now?
What do you think is maybe the kickoff point or one of the first hurdles that could be a jumping board to adding more diversity into craft beer?
If I could say anything that can really start things going, is breweries need to speak up. With Black is Beautiful initiative, there's a very sad underlining story here that there are about 8,500 breweries in this country, and only 1,100 of them are brewing Black is Beautiful. Or let's not even discuss Black is Beautiful, but let's say that we want to limit breweries to posting a black square on Instagram. How many breweries has actually even done that part? Or how many breweries have released a statement stating, like, if you're about hate and you dislike a person because of their color or their sexual preference, what are you saying as a brewery to those people that come in as a consumer? Like, that bullshit ain't tolerated here, dude. Like, we love people, all walks, forms, backgrounds of life. It don't matter if it's women loving women, men loving men, whether you're Black, you're Asian, you're brown, anything of that. But we just letting you know that everybody's here. So I think if breweries speak up more of, like, even if you can't brew Black is Beautiful at this moment because COVID got you in a bind, or you're in a tight corner because you don't just have the capacity to do so right now. But what about that brewery that's down the street that does have those free open tanks right now? You can do a collaboration brew of Black is Beautiful. Or if you're serving food at your brewery, you can release a pizza that, you know, if you're a pizza style brewery, you can release a pizza that all proceeds of this particular pizza is going to this organization. Or you can even invite organizations to your brewery. Like, let's set up a special event. Like, all these breweries love setting up beer festivals and any other kind of event in their parking lot or renting event space. So why not be a brewery that supplies beer, but we also set up a platform for organizations that are fighting racial injustice and trying to make more equality in the community, to where they can set up tents to where people can come drink beer, but also hit each one of these tents and learn about organizations and get a better understanding of why money needs to be donated to these. So I think if breweries were to actually take a chance of releasing public statements, and if you even just do that, you create a blog post or Instagram post of just genuinely spilling your heart to people, letting them know, like, the people of color, let's just say Black people, but we're going to talk people in general that are minorities or underrepresented in this industry.
Because outside of, women are starting to come into craft beer a lot more too, but it's still vast majority white men. So it could,
at the end of the day, it's vast majority white men. So I'm talking, when I say diversity and inclusion of craft beer, I'm talking Black people, I'm talking LGBTQ community, I'm even talking handicapped people. And I don't even know if that's the proper term, so correct me if I'm wrong, but some people might even feel like just because you're in a wheelchair, you can't brew beer. Or if you have cerebral palsy or something like that, you can't serve beer. Or even just women, like, there need to be more women becoming involved. And that's women of all, like white women, Black women, Asian, just women in general coming into the industry. But if a brewery was to take that stance and just make a public statement, like, this is where we stand. And then I know we're going to get comments. There's going to be people like, because I see it on other breweries pages, like, oh, you're brewing Black is Beautiful, I would never support your brewery again. Okay, then as a brewery, you need to comment to that fucking comment, and that person be like, peace out.
Yeah, don't want you there.
We don't want you here. But I've looked at breweries who posted like Black is Beautiful, and then they allowed 300 comments on their page, and there's people out there like, you know, fuck Black Lives Matter, and you know, I'll never support you again. And a brewery won't even comment to that person.
Yeah.
So then that kind of shows to me, like, oh, so you made this blanket statement to kind of be cool and hip to the times, but you truly don't care. Because there are breweries out there who actually check people's, like, you know what, you made this comment, like, you are exactly why we posted this, and we don't want you at our brewery no more. There's breweries that have said that to people.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of it.
Yeah,
people like,
I think that's a way to start, because it's hard to say, like, you don't necessarily have to donate money, because a lot of people need to actually look into the organizations they're donating money to. Not all organizations are for a proper cause, but I think if you are able to make that step of a public post and not bury it, like, make that shit a post on Monday and then don't post shit else until the following Monday. Some people they did a black square, and then like 3 hours later, they like it. Here's our release for this Saturday, and we got 4 beers. Fuck that shit that we just posted. But we got all these beers posted coming out on Saturday. Please come out and support.
See, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't post anything when everyone was doing that, because I kind of just sat back and watched and listened, and I didn't feel like it was my place to say things then. I felt like my contribution was much more of being able to have people like you on and to tell your story and to teach me, like you are now, teach me about it. I felt like that's a better way for me to be able to help, is to to use my, albeit not huge following, but to add to a megaphone to people and that's why I reached out to Marcus, because I felt like for me that was a much better way for me to help than to make, because I felt like there were so many people just making empty posts that
I agree. And what you did is a perfect example of another thing that I talked about with people here, is like, you did exactly what you needed to do, because your platform went bigger than that. So you can post a black square on Instagram and get so many followers, but what your niche is that you have this platform of being a very successful podcaster, vlogger, all that stuff. And I would rather you do what you're doing now, than posting some blank black square.
And that was kind of like my thought. Like, it's just all right. It would feel like I was just following along with what everyone else was doing, and it wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah, no, I think what you're doing now is great, because it gives people that real narrative feelings and what's going on, because you're sharing your platform, which could be used for anything else. I mean, there's platforms out there who got the same platform as you who aren't doing what you're doing. They don't want to amplify voices or be that megaphone that really shares a message, because either one, they're scared and don't know how to address the situation, or they just blatantly don't give a shit. But we're right now in a time where conversation is key, man. If no time has ever been the time, it is time to find your counterparts and talk to them. Like I was telling my job, being in commercial real estate, I'm the only black employee at my company, where there's me and one other person now, but we're the only black employees in our entire company. And it's a very large real estate company. And it was just like, we finally addressed the elephant in the room about, like, this was kind of like right when the whole George Floyd situation started. And it was surprising of how, like, my company in general was just like terrified to have a conversation, because they just felt like it wasn't their place, or this is something they never experienced. And then when we were able to talk to them and educate them and like let them know, like, I wear suits and ties, and like how I look right now, you would never recognize me in person. Like I even have people on my Instagram today after posting me being featured in the magazine. It was like, hey man, I was at that brewery too. I didn't even know you were there. And it's like, yeah, because like I was, totally different dressed and everything. But I had to explain to my company, is like, do you understand, like, as one of your sole black employees, that when I go to a property, if the fire alarm is going off, or, a window is broken, and I go there as the property manager to try to take care of the issue, that there's a possibility that the police might show up and think that I'm the motherfucker who did that. Not even knowing that this is my job and this is a building I manage, and I'm taking care of this property as I do every single day. It's like I can be on my way driving to a property and have the fear of like being a black man in a very nice vehicle and being pulled over, and hopefully it's not mine, or it is or isn't mine, and things like that. But you can just cruise and do your thing. And what I found out about having this conversation with my company and my peers for the first time is that it's not like that it was belligerently like being ignorant or understanding. It's just it's a situation that they just never had to deal with because they, like, unfortunately, they may have never had a black friend or were very privileged growing up to where they just never had to experience nothing like that, or never had the conversation in their lifetime with somebody who experienced something like this that they've never seen and only thought was on TV and movies and such.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it kind of this narrative for us as people to where we can talk about that.
And I think, like, because you had said too that you didn't think it was from a place of ignorance or but there's a lot of just, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. I don't know fucking geometry. Like, you can call me a fucking idiot all day because I don't you can try to teach me geometry right now and I'll be the dumbest person in the classroom because I don't know. But if you just give me the time and bring the conversation and teach me, we can go a lot further. And that's why when I talk to people, especially, white people and other people who don't experience it, I never come in as like this angry man that, like, especially black man that needs something. Like, I want to have this serious conversation to where we can talk and maybe we can really develop something here to where I introduce you to something and you introduce me, because there's things you've been through or never been through that's like, damn, I didn't know that you never been pulled over before, ever. Damn, that's cool.
How's that possible?
Yeah, like shit, man. Like, so no, but I don't call it ignorance. It's just the opportunity of conversation, and I think that's what everything that's going on in the world is created, and that's what hopefully Black is Beautiful will curate in the tap rooms. Is like, now I can walk up to a bar and sit right next to you as a white man, and we can just drink the same Black is Beautiful beer and have a conversation of why this is brewed, and and understand each other and walk off as friends. Or even if we don't walk off as friends, at least we planted seeds to each other to water and hopefully grow and spread conversation to others that's really closer to us.
And I had said earlier, is when I interviewed Mike Potter and Barrett Tillman.
Barrett Tillman, man, that's my dog.
Yeah, great guy. He was really interesting. I liked him a lot. I mean, through the course of interview, there's a lot of things that we discussed and we talked about, like, it's just things I never would have thought of.
Yeah,
like I think a lot of people put malice into people's hearts when it's really just that they don't have the same experiences you have and can't possibly know from the world from your lens without having it exposed to them.
Yeah, I agree. And with that kind of conversation, and like what you just said, it's not that like you were deliberately not understanding or not intentionally not trying to say. It's just different environments, different backgrounds and such, and it all stems to even before our lifetime of just things that just happen to separate and divide us as a community. And we got to understand that when it comes to like segregation and like dividing Black and white, that shit was yesterday, bro. Like, that was like in the 60s when that shit really happened, to where we can drink from the same water fountain and go to the same school.
It's not real in the grand scheme of things. It's not that long ago.
Exactly. So we're at a stage where we need to start having those conversations. And like, there's things I need to understand. Like, I don't understand certain things my grandparents and great grandparents right there, because it was like my entire life I had white friends and I can drink from water fountains and I can go to same schools in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But for their lifetime, that shit was just totally different. And we kind of got developed and molded off of their experiences to where we need to break chains and barriers and create our own for the next generation that follows after us, to make it to be where it's not another 400 years of diversion between people, like it was with slavery and all of that. It's like we need to demolish that shit now.
And I think like one big step is to not think everyone comes from the same level of knowledge or experience or knowing. Like, for example, I had never heard of Juneteenth until this year.
Dude, you know what? And that was surprising because I always heard
in Texas, it's huge.
Dude, and it was because I'm living in Texas now that I've been really promoting it. And it's surprising of like how many people have never actually heard of it, but I spent my whole life knowing about that.
See, I grew up just south of Pittsburgh, and it was never taught. It was like it wasn't something that
not in our school books, that's for sure. And that's no matter where you are, they don't mention that shit. Like,
and it makes sense that it would be so important in Texas.
Yeah.
And be so big, and probably the states surrounding it. But if it was talked about, it must have been mentioned in passing. And I mean, I took advanced placement history classes in high school, and
keep that shit, bro.
And then like living in Maryland, no one talked about Juneteenth. It wasn't. It's not in the culture here. I asked my black friends, some of them, and most of them had never heard of it either.
So it's surprisingly a lot of black people have, especially like black people who grew up in like areas that's not the South. Like if you grew up in like Vegas and LA and areas that just it's all spectrums. It don't matter if you're black, white, brown. A lot of people have not heard of it, but I think this year everybody knows.
Yeah, everyone knows what it is now.
Yeah. So it's shocking how that's not a national holiday compared to other holidays that's being praised and what. But I think Juneteenth is one of the pivotal moments in history to help change to where you and I can have a conversation like this today and be on the same podcast without somebody trying to burn your house down for talking to a black man. So,
So it's a lot of, and like, so, I mean, I grew up in the North. I grew up in, like, it was 99, probably point something % white where I grew up. So like my upbringing, there's very little outside of white culture that I was exposed to growing up. It wasn't until I moved to Maryland that really experienced diversity.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my first jobs when I moved to Maryland, I was probably, I think white males were in the minority there because it was an engineering firm. So there were a lot of people from India, China, like all these other countries, a lot of women engineers. So it was like extremely diverse. And it was one of the only times in my life where I was in the actual minority in most rooms. So it's like, I think too many people will jump and put malice into people's motives. I mean, there are definitely times where there's no doubt that there is malice there. The people have proven that. But sometimes it's attributed when the malice isn't there. It's just
there at all.
It's just a lack of not having any reference point.
And that's why I always been it's all about conversation. I never judged anybody until like I can physically have a decent conversation with you, and then based on that we'll have you understand. Like if I try to have a conversation, explain to you, you're just inward, I hate y'all and things like that, then shit.
There's no doubt there.
But then if we have a conversation like this where it's just like, damn, bro, like which I've had with a lot of my white peers in brewing and just friends in general, where it's like, dude, I just didn't fucking know, man. Like that shit was not taught to me, and it's like now that I know. Like, yeah, you damn right I'm with you. Yeah, Juneteenth is fucking great. Like, there was sometimes me growing up in Louisiana and in the South, like Arkansas and things like that. A lot of people saw Juneteenth as like it was like this day of rage for black people. And it's like, dude, that
celebration.
Sit down and have a conversation and let me explain to you what it's about. It has nothing to do about us retaliating or anything like that to anyone else. It was just It's freedom. Like that's
Yeah.
our 4th of July. Like how you celebrate your the freedom of the country and all of that with fireworks and shit. It wasn't until like that was the day where we can also shoot fireworks and be proud and do like that was the day that we were allowed to. Prior to that, we were never allowed to participate in independence and all that stuff. So
completely unrelated, real quick. I hated when I went to Louisiana. It was so hot there. I flew down for a job interview the end of October, and I got off the plane and started sweating immediately. I was like, yeah, I'm not taking this job. I don't care.
Off the ass out there. Texas ain't no better. Well, Austin is good, but once you get to like Houston, it's swamp ass hot. It's just swampy, nasty, sticky hot all day.
So from talking to a bunch of different people, it seems like maybe for at least like from the microcosm of craft beer, one of the biggest first steps would actually be your front of house staff.
For sure.
But having diversity in that front of house staff makes it a more inviting environment for other than a bearded white man to come and sit down and have a beer.
For sure. Most definitely. Obviously, I'm more comfortable in tap rooms than probably my other fellow black men who have probably never been to one in a day of their life. But it just had that vibe of differency when you can walk in somewhere. I don't know how to. I'm probably using the worst. Probably explaining this the worst way, but it just like it hits different when you can walk in. When you're at a brewery, and this is when I first started in the craft beer industry and got into breweries, like when you first walk into a brewery, just walking into the door, like it automatically darks your eyes like, oh shit, I'm the only black person here. And then you get that immediately tense feeling of like, am I supposed to be here? Or like, is it cool? Is any other people staring at me weird? Damn, am I dressed wrong? Like you got all these kind of conversations. Then you get up to the bar, and there's been situations when I was first getting into beer is when I go to the bar and be like, I'm trying to see what you got up here, what you drinking, and it's just kind of this thing of where it's like you should already know what we serve and what we drink and things like what we got here for you, and there's nobody there to really communicate. But there was times where I went to breweries where there was another person of color, not even just black. I mean, I went to breweries where there was some of my Hispanic people who are now called friends now, and I'll go over there and be like, oh shit, what's good. I can kind of brace myself a little bit because we can kind of connect a little bit about the beer. So I think by starting in a tap room, and that's just behind the bar, the people that's pouring the beer can make it welcoming that when a person walks in, especially a noob to craft beer that walks in, when they start darting their eyes, it's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Do I order at the bar? Do I grab a table? Boop, boop, boop. There's somebody that looks like me. Maybe I can just gravitate to them that's at the bar and they can help me figure out the plan here. So that definitely helps. But at the same time, we got to be on a fair spectrum of that in order to hire diversity in tap rooms, especially the bar staff. There got to be applicants from the outside. So we got to start talking about breweries as like, how are we like diversifying ourselves to be welcoming to someone to even apply at a brewery? Or like what are we really doing to kind of gravitate this outside community to really say like it is okay to apply here, even if you have no experience? Because the thing is that when it comes to diversity and people of color, there's a lot of us that just do not have any experience in the beer industry because it's an industry that existed for so long that never really had us in it. So when you say, oh, I'm looking for a tap room manager or a bar staff with 1 year experience of cleaning beer lines and all that, automatically people of color are like, well, I'm not applying there because I've never worked at a brewery before.
Yeah, I attended a leadership program and put on through the Chamber of Commerce for Frederick County, and one of the days was devoted to diversity in the workforce. So this wasn't about craft brewery specifically, but just workplaces in general. And one of the things that was talked about then was that employers reaching out to services or groups that specialize in um, uh, employment searches for minorities.
And that's a good point that you said that, because there are like staffing agencies that are out there for minority communities. And if a brewery is looking for front house staff or anything like that, they need to reach out to, Manpower and Robert Half and Burnett Staffing, like all these staffing agencies that are out there that post job opportunities, and they can post it there, because at the end of the day, like a lot of people of color like rely on those websites and organizations to help them find employment. So you might, for all you know, man, there might be somebody just like me who loves craft beer and always just appreciated flavor and all of that, but they're terrified to apply to work at a brewery because it all comes out. Like when you read descriptions, like I was even the same way before I got into gypsy brewing and wanted to open my own brewery. I was like, man, I would love to work at a brewery, like to work on the brewing side as like an assistant brewer or an apprentice. But then when you read the description, it's like, oh, we want 5 years experience of this, and that. And it's like, damn, they ain't even gonna hire me, man, because why should I even apply? Because like, even though I'm the brewer brother, it's like, I don't have 5 years of a actual brewery setting. I'm a gypsy brewer, and maybe that's not enough to be a brewer or assistant brewer. And it automatically determined. For all I know, I could have applied, and they're like, "Oh shit, dude, we follow you. Of course we bring you." But that's me.
Yeah.
Like, what about the
Not everyone
that has 20 followers and only 13 posts on their Instagram, but they want to get into beer and don't have that big following? Are you going to still feel the same way about them as you do with the brew brother?
And I think going back to what you said too before, like how sometimes when you go to a place, the bartender will be condescending or and like I mean I've experienced that, and I kind of feel like I have a decent knowledge of beer, but then I've still like I've gone places where I didn't know anyone, and the beer tender was super condescending to me. I just want to be like, come on. Whereas like me, I'm just going to complain about it or just think like that person's a jerk. But like where you said, where you walk in, you're already uncomfortable wondering, like, do I belong there? If you have that same experience, whereas for me, it's just annoying.
Like,
for you, it's going to be a complete turn off and like, screw this craft beer stuff. They're just
exactly like, we don't have nobody to complain to, because it's just like, you know what, that experience just wasn't good for me. I think all breweries are like that, so I'm never going to return. And I have people like, I have 2 brothers and 4 sisters, and I tried to get them into craft beer, and they had the same feeling with some very popular breweries I took them to, where they just felt like, and that's good. Like, they had a good time when they were with me, because it was like, I know everybody and everybody's cool and happy. Then they was like, you know what, I remember when my brother took me here, so I tried to go visit this brewery over here by myself, and it wasn't that experience that we had when we were with you. So I'm good. I'm done. It's just like, but like you said, like, you can go ahead and, call the manager, put in a suggestion form or something like that. Us, we just kind of be like, yeah, you know what?
Like, why should I deal with this?
Yeah, like maybe I should just, I'm good. I just won't go back. And maybe every one of them is like that. And then it gets to the seed has been planted. So now when everyone else asks, like, hey man, I'm gonna go to this brewery now. So it's just like, you know what, I had this one time, I just remember, man, it was just so uncomfortable, like kind of being the only, minority there, and then nobody kind of really assisted me or helped me, especially, I went there with a group, and then they met their friends, and I wasn't part of it. And I was just kind of this fly on the wall. I'm not going back. I'm good.
Yeah, so that's what, through conversations, that was kind of something that always struck with me, like that front of house staff. Well, I mean, to any interaction, they're the front line, but to diversity and inclusion, they're the front line to building a more diverse fan base for craft brewing.
Yeah. No, it makes it really tough, but I don't know. I just kind of, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've been in this industry for so long. I've seen so many different, the pendulum has went so many directions for me as
Yeah.
far as being a consumer to brewing. I think I just, shit, maybe even I'm not the right person to.
Well, yeah, because even you're looking at it from a different perspective than
I'm looking at it from a totally different perspective from my counterparts who were new when I came in. Like I get the experience because I experienced it when I started, but where I'm at today, I'm on a totally different vibe to where it doesn't apply to me. Plus, I just built that confidence too, to where like, dude, I really don't give a shit if I'm the
yeah.
only black person. I actually take advantage of that shit because it's like you ain't gonna get me at a brewery if I'm the only one, or a festival if I'm the only one. I promise that.
Yeah. So, give a rundown real quick of where people can find you and the best places to follow you.
I would say the best place you can follow me is going to be Instagram. I'm at the Brew Brother. That's BROTHA on Instagram. But I would really love it if people will also follow the Urban Jungle Brewing journey as we start to get this brewery open. Again, it'll be the first Black-owned minority brewery in Austin, Texas. And I would love to have everyone follow that one. That is Urban Jungle Brew. If you could follow both of those accounts, I will keep you updated with stories, Instagram posts, going live. And yeah, everything's going to start there. You can also visit the website at urbanjunglebrewery.com as well to follow our story. At this very moment, we do have a Kickstarter. It is live until September 5th, 2020. So if anybody can share, pledge, or even just introduce someone to visit, that would be more appreciated than ever. Like even if you can't pledge, just simply sharing that Kickstarter would mean so much to us at this time right now.
Thank you so much for your time. I
Appreciate
wish
it, man.
all the success in Urban Jungle as possible. Hopefully someday I'll actually make it down to Austin.
Of course you will, bro. I got a special seat for you right at the bar, bro.
I was so excited whenever it was because I wanted to go to Austin forever. So like that was the perfect reason to just go. I was going to be able to make it a work trip. And and then this happened. It was like soul crushing. So I mean,
between Beer Now and CBC, man, I think a lot of people are going to have their real, true first Austin experience. And once you come to Austin, man, it's life changing if you've never been, man.
Yeah, like I need to go to Austin Brew Works because he started out in Frederick, Maryland. There's
AEW, man, they killing it too.
So I will definitely be there at some point because it's still at the very top of my places to go list now that I missed out on being able to go. But then hopefully you make it out to Maryland again sometime, and I can take you around to the Frederick breweries.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope, man.
We got some awesome ones.
That.
So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers.
Uncapped is brought to you with support from McClintock Distilling, Maryland's first and only organic certified distillery. They are well known for their award-winning gin and are rapidly growing a name for themselves for their Matchstick Bourbon and Boot Jack Rye Whiskey that have both won double gold at international spirits competitions. You can visit them in historic downtown Frederick along Carroll Creek for tours and tastings. Go to McClintockdistilling.com for more information.